Hello all. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful thoughts and emotions recollected in tranquility, said a popular English poet. But our ancestors knew this before 3000 years, and that is why they chose the genre of poetry to express their thoughts and emotions. Sangam literature produced works that were poetic in form. Probably the form allowed people to freely express their intricate emotions. Poetry does that. It gives a free rein to drive emotions into words. No critic could comment on the type of vocabulary or form of expression in poetry, since it usually will be personal in tone. And based on the length of the poems and their forms, works of Sangam literature were split into two: Patthupaatu, that is 10 long poems, and Tohai, 8 anthologies or collections of poetry. People of Sangam Era understood their lives with the help of two major concepts. One is Agam, which is internal, and the other one is Puram, which is external. Concepts that were either private, pertaining to an individual alone, or personal, involving two emotionally bonded people, were categorized under Agam genre. The works that spoke about love, lust, emotional turmoil, depressions, ecstasy, bliss, extreme devotion, inexplicable emotions of human beings were called Agam works. Concepts that spoke about environment, a particular person's unique traits like generosity, bravery, and so on, particular kingdom or region of great influence, society in general, and those emotions that which can be expressed to an audience and be understood were categorized under Puram work. The Agam works in the 10 long poems or Patthupaatu are Mullai Paatu, Paatu, Pattinapalai, and Nedunalvadai. These poems talked about subtle human emotions that could only be felt or experienced. The Agam works mostly are linked with the landscape in which the action usually took place. And in Sangam literature, the major landscapes were Mullai, that is forest lands, Marudam, farmlands, Kurinji, hilly regions, Nedal, seashore, and Palai, dry lands. Each of these areas had their specialized sect of people, practices, food styles, lifestyles, flora and fauna, and even gods and goddesses. These landscapes were called thinai in Tamil, and the word thinai literally means demeanor, conduct, behavior, or discipline. The poem that we are going to deal with today is Mullai Paatu, or the rhyme of the rainforests. Mullai is the area which has dense forests. The people of Mullai primarily worshipped Lord Vishnu. The people were split into Kurumbore Nadan, or the head of natives, the clan that established a territory in the landscape right from the beginning, and the working class, including Ayar or cattle rearers and Idayar or shepherds. The forests of Mullai had wild fowls, deers, hares, jasmine bushes, kaya trees, and other exotic varieties of trees, herbs, and plants. The people of Mullai had millets like pearl millet, foxtail millets as their staple food. They also had tunes which were native to their landscape. Mullai Paatu, or the Mullai Pan, also called Sadari Pan, is a collection of songs that were composed in the raga named Bandhuvarali, and these songs were sung with the accompaniment of Mullai Yal, or the forest lute. The landscape of Mullai is often tagged with adjectives related to existence and survival, and most often the women folks would merely survive after their spouses leave for battlefronts. They would physically survive for the sake of it until their beloved returned. The poem of discussion today, Mullai Paatu, also talks about the pains of surviving endured by the wife of a soldier who has gone to the battlefront. Though it is not mentioned, scholars say that the main character of Mullai Paatu might be King Nedunjarian of the Pandya kingdom. The poem is sung from his queen's view and later shifts to the king's view. The poem is written by Nappudanar, supposedly the son of a gold trader who lived in the city of Pugar or Kaveri Pumattina. The poem begins on a rainy day. Rains are synonymous with forests, that is, Mullai lands, so the majority of the days in a year are spent in cold and wet rains. The first few lines of the poem clearly highlights the settings of the poem and then goes on to the elaborate central theme. Mullai Paatu, the rhyme of the rainforests. Mal pola thondrum மழை மேகம் நனந்தலை உலகம் வழியே நேமியோடு வலம்புரி பொறித்த மா தாங்கு தடக்கை நீர் செல நிமிர்ந்த மா அல் போல பாடு இமிழ் பனிக்கடல் பருகி வலன் ஏற்பு கோடு கொண்டு எழுந்த கொடுஞ்செலவு எழிலி பெரும் பெயல் பொழிந்த சிறு பொன் மாலை dark clouds like the dark skin protector. The world cocooned by him with love, with his robust arms that hold the divine conch. Much like him, the dark and heavy clouds that sponged up the deep water from the right rose up and above in his giant form and showered to wet the beings on that short dusk. The poet begins with the beautifully interlaced lines that talk about the god of the Mullai lands, Lord Vishnu, the typical climate of the land's constant monsoons and the typically short evenings. He says that just like how Lord Vishnu took the avatar of Vaman and presented his Vishwaroop or gigantic form to King Mahabali, the scattered clouds in the sky gathered together and sponged up more waters from the oceans to bring heavy rains. Due to the rains, the entire land seemed to face a very short evening because soon it turned dark again. The poet symbolically states, just like the monsoon that never lets people have a normal day, the constant sorrow that lingers in the mind of a woman whose husband was away to the battlefront never lets her live in peace. The pain of separation. Can there be a pain worse than that? Stay tuned as we move further into the poem. Thank you.